UC Bearcats fans. As always, this is UC Bearcats on the Prowl, part of the Grueling Truth Radio Network. I'm James WErnest, along with my co-host, Mark Fightmaster. Mark, what have the Bearcats been up to this week?
Well, it's been a good week it's been a good run for the Cats since we last talked. They had a nice win against Temple last Wednesday night. They, we were talking a little bit before we came on. They shot lights out the second half. I was at the game, and there was kind of that uneasy feeling when Temple took that 2-point lead into halftime. But then the Cats came out and just they blew it open. They, they're starting to play some offense, James, and like we were saying, they've got a shot at being a pretty good team here as we head into the stretch and into the tournaments, and it's a little scary at times, and I'm sure we've said this before, but as a Cincinnati fan, we always look for the worst, and they're just playing some decent basketball right now.
Yeah, that is nice to see. I mean, the big game on Thursday and all, and they just got done with a nice weekend of games. So, yeah, they're doing some good stuff.
Yeah, and what I liked, over the weekend they played Tulane, and the referees decided to take over that game. But it was actually kind of nice seeing Quadri Moore and, Trey Scott and those guys get a little bit more time because of the foul trouble. You've got Jacob Evans III with 2 fouls 3 minutes into the game. You don't have him till halftime. Kyle Washington fouled out after playing about 8 minutes of game time. But Quadri Moore came in, had the best game of his career, nailed 3 3-pointers, I believe. So it's good to see those guys getting some time. So maybe UC knows, maybe Mick knows that he can call on them if needed. So.
Very true. Yeah, I was going to say, depth is going to be so important for the tournament. Not just AAA, but for the conference tournament. So, yeah, it'll be interesting.
Right. This time of year, it's a battle of attrition when you get into those tough games. And UC's got some really good players. I think it was it during the Tulane game? Yeah, I think it was during the Tulane game. They were talking about, what kind of prospect is Trey Scott for the next level, pro. And this kid's just a true freshman. But they were saying, he needs to develop an outside shot. I'll tell you what, I'll take what we're getting from him now. He's an inside presence. He is a good rebounder and scores well. And Quadri Moore, we didn't get to see him a lot last year. But now with the more we see, the more comfortable he seems to be. And that can only help the team going forward.
Exactly. Just their ability to score both inside and outside, like you said. The more players that are getting out there. With Justin Jennifer getting out on the court and Cumberland. Those type of guys that, originally were going to be afterthoughts or going to be secondary players are playing a pivotal role on the team.
They are, and we can't overlook the contribution of who I have. My brother and I have talked about this, and I think that he was one of the most overrated players on UC in the past couple of years. But Gary Clark is putting together a very nice season. He's doing well on the inside. That little baby hook shot of his is coming along, and he seems more comfortable handling the ball as a big man, which will help because, if his defenders don't come out on him, he feels fine. It appears that he feels fine dribbling in there, backing him down, and getting his shot. So I don't want to overlook what Clark has done this year. He really, what they like to say that Gary Clark is a problem, I think is something that they like to say. And quite honestly, he really is kind of developing into a problem for the other teams.
Exactly. Like we were saying, or like you were saying about Kyle Washington sometimes having foul trouble. Yeah, if he's going to be in foul trouble, you're going to have, Clark step it up, definitely in pivotal moment. Yeah, because, most of the team is very focused on guard play. From Kevin Johnson, of course, Troy Copane and Jacob Evans. So, yeah, you have to have at least some inside presence.
Right, and while and Troy Copane has really found his shot this year. I think I heard a stat on the radio that going into the Tulane game, he was shooting 52% from three-point land, which is outstanding. And I think, with him and Kevin Johnson, I think the last time we talked, I mentioned how Kevin Johnson, when he came out of Summit, was known as a shooter. But he developed into this defensive stopper, but it's kind of nice to see that shot coming back. I mean, he gets on a roll like he did against Temple. He was making threes when we needed them. This team is going to be a tough out.
I agree 100%. Yeah, that's why it's nice they're going to get a good test on Thursday against Xavier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Game. And while I don't want to undersell Xavier, okay? And to be honest, I can't root for Xavier ever because my being a UC fan. But knowing, they're coming into the game without Miles Davis because after the suspension, he decided, even if they reinstated him, he just left the team. Yeah. So they don't have him. I thought I heard something on the Chris Mack show tonight. There is a possible injury to another player on the team, but I don't know. I didn't catch the guy's name, but they said somebody had a shoulder injury, and the way that
Sumner.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's had that injury. Yeah, he's one of their better players. Yeah, there's good potential. He is going to be. He's not going to be probably a lottery pick, but he's going to be like late teens, early 20s. I'd say.
Okay, it sounded like the caller was talking about him and something about his shoulder injury, probably maybe even limiting his playing time this week. So we'll see. Xavier, they just went through a brutal stretch. They had Villanova, Butler, and Creighton in 3 games, and they dropped all 3. And to me, I think that's obviously losing those 3 in a row is the reason they dropped in the standings in the top 25. But man, you've got somebody who plays those 3 teams and loses to those 3. I mean, we're talking about 3 top 10 teams in the country. So, I think some people are looking at Xavier as they're down and they're this big underdog. I don't necessarily buy it because they've been playing well and they face a tougher schedule.
Yep, they just played Georgetown. Like the first 2 losses, the Butler and the Villanova, don't bother me. The only one that bothered was the Creighton, and that because it was a home game, and then their best player Ward Jr. Ended up getting an injury during the game, so like their star point guard was out most of the game, and that would have been the time to beat Creighton when they don't have their point guard in.
Right, and I agree with you 100%. I mean, to me, that Villanova loss was expected. Yeah. Butler, they were playing at Butler. That's obviously, as the Bearcats know, it's a tough place to play. Yeah. So, and I agree 100% on that Creighton loss. Creighton lost their best player, so I would have thought that Xavier would have been able to come back and beat them, especially at home. So, it's going to be interesting. Crosstown Shootout, it's one of those games that the old cliche, the records don't matter, comes to the fore, and it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a battle. I don't see either team necessarily blowing either one out. The thing is, I think UC has a little bit of advantage on the defensive side from the research I've done, a little bit of research I've done going into this. I think Xavier's turning the ball over at a pretty good clip.
They are.
And UC has that pressure defense. I really think that's where UC's biggest advantage is going to be. Now, let's see how the shooting goes. If they can combine that shooting with a stopping defense, it could be a good one for UC.
Exactly. My big concern about Xavier for UC is they do have about 3 or 4 really good bigs. I forget Sean's last name, but I don't know if it's like O'Hare or something. He's a dominant big guy. They're a tough team. So
and because of those big guys, this is a game that we could see a little bit more of Quadri Moore. We could see some more Trey Scott. We could see some more Niceer Brooks, because if Washington and Clark do get in foul trouble, we can see those young guys come in. And again, I think that's where some of the experience over the past couple games will be invaluable for them.
So they got that going for them, and then it'll be interesting to see the rest of the season how it plays out afterwards. Because fortunately, after that, there's not too many tough games. Obviously, the UConn game is a concern. We have 2 of those left.
Yeah.
The SMU wasn't too bad against them.
Yeah, well, there's a return matchup down at SMU, I believe.
Yeah.
So that
yeah.
I would think after the Xavier game that is probably going to be the most difficult game for them. Going to UConn and playing at UConn is never fun, but UConn is having a bit of a down year. I think they've got Houston and SMU left. Other than that, they're playing the likes of South Florida, Central Florida, teams that are very low ranked in the RPI, and I believe that's why UC may come out with a little extra sense of urgency on Thursday against Xavier, because this is their highest remaining RPI game, I believe.
Oh yeah, it easily should be. I mean, Xavier.
Yeah,
Xavier's probably a top 15 team in the country, and like you said, that's their only problem was they ran into top 10 teams in the country.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to hurt you. Yeah. So yeah.
Exactly.
It'll be interesting, the rest of the season, like you said, with the postseason. Obviously, playing a tough game like Xavier is going to only do one thing and help UC prepare for the tournament.
Yeah, it will. And I think the crowd's going to be into it. So hopefully UC will be able to draw some momentum from them and a little bit of energy, and come out with a win.
And then switching to the women's team, surprisingly, they are on a roll. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games in a row that they've won. I mean, they're looking pretty darn good.
Yeah, nice little run going. They're playing some good basketball.
They've been playing solid. Their next game is against University of Central Florida. Playing University of South Florida. But then the big game on February 7th, and of course the great news for the women's team is they only have to have UConn come to them. They don't have to go to UConn. Which, quite frankly, there's no point in driving up there, flying up there, whatever, because
No. Yeah, you're going up against a machine there. So love to see the women's team, string together 2-3 more wins heading into that game. And who knows, you've got them on your home court, but, odds are what the outcome is going to be. But at least you got them at home. So see what happens.
To be honest with you, I am more excited about that game, other than the Crosstown Shootout, than probably any other game the rest of the season. Well, and then the Villanova-Xavier game, because, I see Villanova being number 1. But yeah, that's one of the more exciting games, or one of the more I'm looking forward to seeing, like you said, how UConn is just such a machine. I want to see that in person. So that's Tuesday, February 7th. And I've made sure to cross all my I's and dot all my T's, and I'm like, I'm going to that.
I will be there. Yeah, that'll be a fun game to see. Rarely do you get to see a program that is just basically unstoppable. They have built such a good program that any chance you get to see them and you can take it, it's worth it.
Exactly. I mean, they're basically the modern-day equivalent of what UCLA was with John Wooden. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then, of course, they got, 12 players on the team. Probably 9 or 10 of them are going to be in the WNBA in the next 2-3 years. And then it's unbelievable. I mean, UK, don't get me wrong, how great they're doing and all, and they're getting people in the pros. I can't imagine their clip of getting people in the pros is as high as UConn.
I wouldn't think so. I definitely would not think so, because, that's just the way it is. The talent deficit and the talent difference in women's basketball is so much different than men's.
Exactly. There's a lot more parity in the men's. Nobody would have thought Villanova would have won it last year. There's no team that, is going to surprise somebody in the women's. I mean, it's been UConn, Tennessee, Baylor, of late. I mean, UK is making a little headway in the women, and same with UC has gotten better, of course. I mean, they've got a decent record so far this year. I mean, they're 14-5. Xavier's women are somewhere around that, and the Xavier is trying to sweep the Crosstown Shootout because they end up win the women's edition of it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the men can keep that from happening.
Exactly. That's why, like you said, the depth on the team, I think it's going to help them, and it's going to keep them in the game, and hopefully have them win it.
Yep.
Any good football news?
Well, well, I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. I don't know if you've seen them, but they have been releasing some hype videos on the internet through Twitter and Facebook. Yeah, and that really highlights one of their newest hires, and that was the guy that is now the strength coach. I think they call him, the director of sports fitness or something. He was an assistant strength coach at Ohio State, and you can see that he has brought with him the intensity that he's learned from Mickey Marotti and some of the philosophies. They are, I think they're calling it, attention training, where they take them out like at 5 a.m. and they run them and they do a lot of cardiovascular stuff because they had a week of training. It looks like Fickle is really trying to brand this program with toughness, and that's something they have lacked, and that's something that slipped under Tuberville. I watch those videos, and guys are doing up downs in the mud at 5:30 on a weekday morning with freezing rain falling, and I'm thinking, man, Tuberville was probably still sleeping at that time.
Oh, yeah,
and Luke Fickle's out there with them. Now he's not doing the exercises, or maybe he is. They just didn't show him. But he's out there with them and talking to him about earning the C. And one of them, it talked about how they won't wear anything with the C paw on it until they earn it.
Yeah.
And again, that is just it may sound hokey, it may sound kind of cheerleader rah-rah, but that's something that comes from Ohio State. That's something that comes from the bigger programs, and if we want UC football to compete with the big boys, this is what we need.
Yeah,
so
I agree with 90, 95, 98%. Love the majority of it, except for let's not get them sick. Let's put them in a dang bubble. We have a bubble for a reason.
I know.
Yeah, let's not have them in ice rain and get them sick and have them missing classes. And if they miss classes, get bad grades and be ineligible. Yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah, I hear you.
Other than that, yeah. I mean, the rest of it, you want to get them up at 5:30 a.m., you want to whatever, you want to shoot them with a taser gun, whatever. I don't care. Do all that.
Exactly. And I got to tell you, Wednesday night when I was at the Temple game, there was a little stir over in the student section. My brother and I looked over there, and I said, I'll tell you what, man, I think that's Luke Fickle. Luke Fickle came to the game and went and planted himself in the student section for part of the second half. And I'll tell you what, the guy is seemingly doing and saying the right things right now. So hopefully it's going to translate over.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, I love all that stuff. I mean, and you're right. Some of it is, hokey-esque raw stuff. But, if that's what they do at Ohio State and that's what works, I mean, yes, definitely go for it. And then, of course, part of the hokey rah-rah aspect of it is going to be because, I mean, he seems to be a younger coach, and younger coaches do those kind of things. Like, obviously, Tuberville, who's like, hey, I got my national titles already in my back pocket. Yeah, you're right. He is not getting his butt up at 5 in the morning. And so that's what happens when you accomplish those things and just have the fire. And that's why it's nice that we'll have that passion.
Yeah, and again, like I said earlier, that's what the program has been missing. Under Tuberville, far be it from me to ever say that a Division I college football player is soft, but the program kind of just took a soft mentality. They weren't attacking. They weren't putting people away. They weren't coming in with intensity. The games didn't start with intensity, and watching this stuff build, watching this program build a little bit under Fickle over the past month, there's kind of that feeling, there's a little bit of excitement behind it, and that's something they've been missing.
Oh, and then there was a postseason football, like an all-star game, I believe, this last weekend. I forget which one it was.
Yeah, the Shrine game, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, Gunnar Kiel got in, which is funny.
Yep.
He couldn't get in on his own team, but he made it into the Shrine game. I'm kind of confused.
Right, yeah. I mean, he is... I haven't paid too much attention to the draft stuff yet. To me, football season isn't over, but there's talk that he will be a draft pick. Now, where, what round, who knows? But I mean, Gunnar Kiel, and I think we probably said this during the football season, he is the prototypical quarterback. Tall, big arm, maybe not the most mobile guy in the world, but can get out of the way if needed. So he's a big thrower. It'll be interesting to see what happens on the next level if he gets if he gets drafted.
Yeah, he was the only quarterback
Excuse me.
Have a scoring drive. So I mean, he did some good stuff. I mean, obviously it wasn't a touchdown pass; it was a run, but still,
right.
Team scored. And
right, yeah. He did something to piss somebody off. So. Oh, and James, I don't know, real quick, I don't know if you saw this today, but I saw it just before we started. Urban Meyer's son has committed to the University of Cincinnati to play baseball.
Oh, cool.
I thought that was kind of cool.
That is pretty neat. Yeah.
Coming back to his dad's alma mater.
Nice. Yeah, I was going to touch base on the baseball, actually. Yeah, I mean, we got less than a month, obviously, and because of the weather and all, the first 6 games are on the road. So, I mean, it starts February 17th, but really we don't see anything into March 1st. But on March 1st, they start off with the University of Indiana.
That'll be a good game.
They got that one a week from then. They got University of Kentucky at home. I mean, they're going to play some interesting games, and I'm definitely looking forward to covering them. They got Louisville at Marge Shot. I mean, they got NKU, which, most fans are like, what? Who cares? But, of course, I'm biased being an alum. Of course, Xavier's playing them there. So, I think they're playing them twice there. So, they should have a good season. And, that is nice to learn that his son's going to be playing there. So, Again, I'm not sure how great a prospect he is, but, it was good enough to get a Division I scholarship offer. So, we'll see. And, maybe Urban will come down and hang out with his old buddy Luke and watch some baseball. Let's see. And then the last thing to cover with the show is following this, we're going to attach the interview with Brandy Tarver, one of the women's basketball players. She's from Chicago originally. She's a senior. Got to meet her the other day on Thursday. Really nice young lady. She covers some of the team's goals for this season, some of her individual goals, things she's been working on, how classes are going, that kind of fun stuff. Just, the behind look at how Cincinnati women's basketball works.
Oh, very good. That'll be cool.
So, as always, part of the UC Bearcats on the Prowl, we're the Grueling Truth Radio Network. I'm James WErnest, and, of course, Mark Fightmaster. We hope to hear from you all again next week.